for the prayers. So we go straight to the classroom, and I said, welcome once again, all of you. So far, how is it going? How is it going?
It's going well, like this. Well, we need time to go through what we've gone through already. But as for everything is going on well.
Okay. So we go straight to the.
Papa, please, it's going on very well.
Okay. When the ladies talk, then you are sure it's well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So we thank God for everything, and then we go straight. So yesterday we were able to get to a point where we realize that David is dead, and then the son called Solomon has assumed the kingship. And then later we got to know all that Solomon did when the leadership was entrusted into his hands. When we ended where Solomon had died. And therefore his son, called Rehoboam, had taken over. And Rehoboam will lead us to what we call the divided kingdom, or the divided monarchy of Israel. Right from Saul to David and to Solomon, the kingdom was together. All the tribes were together, being ruled by one person, a king, either by Saul or David or Solomon. But despite all the successes chalked by, especially David, who expanded the kingdom to cover all the areas, the boundaries that God had promised them, and Solomon, who really made the golden era of Israel really golden, making sure that they have all that they had, building temples, building the palace, bringing in foreign trade, having international partnership, allowing them to capitalize on the natural resources, the copper, the oil, the gold, and the iron, making sure that they have it in all, building up a strong military background, and even bringing back the worship of Yahweh, where the temple practices were all established with the priest taking charge. Still, he did evil in the sight of God because his heart was turned away from God, because he married so many women, and because of that, the heart was off. 300 concubines, 700 wives. I don't know how he was going to work on them. 1,000 put together. And because of this, Solomon gradually lost it, because temples were built for all the wives in the city, in the town of Canaan. They were built everywhere. So the worship of foreign gods stepped in. And you know, God is against that, because he said that thou shalt not worship any God aside him. And so what happened? We have after the rebellion, after the death of Solomon, as he said, there was a serious rebellion that divided the kingdom. One, to the north, 10 tribes was established under Jeroboam, with Samaria as their capital. So to the northern part, 10 of the tribes moved away, and then they had Jeroboam as their leader or king, and Samaria was their capital. Beyond the northern kingdom, to the northeast, the Syrians or the Amarians, you remember that David conquered the Amarians. They also declared independence under the leadership of Rezon. And they also had Damascus as their capital. So usually when we are talking about the split, we talk about the 10 tribes and the 2 tribes that left. But there was also these people who had been captured and they were being put under slavery, under the authority of David. Solomon continued. Now they declared independence, they went back and they had Damascus as their capital. So most of the towns that we hear in the New Testament were all the Samaria and Damascus. And we'll get to know why they think that the Samaritans are not, it's not a place for worship. You remember that during the time of Jesus, this issue came up. They don't regard the northern tribe as full Israelites, especially the southern tribe. Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, retained only the tribes of Judah, part of Benjamin and Simeon as the southern kingdom, and they had Jerusalem as their capital. Note that Jerusalem was made capital by who? David, for the United Kingdom. Solomon continued Jerusalem as their capital, United Kingdom. But when the kingdom was splitted, Rehoboam still maintained Jerusalem as the capital for the remaining tribe of Judah, part of Benjamin and Simeon. So if you put them together, then they became the southern tribe, the southern kingdom, or the southern kingdom is also called Judah. And then the northern kingdom is also what we call Israel. They maintain the name Israel. The northern kingdom is called Israel. Okay. Now, what happened? Following the death of Solomon, Rehoboam, his son called for the assembling of the nation at Shechem. Can someone tell us anything about Shechem? We have mentioned Shechem. Do you remember anything about Shechem? Yes, I've mentioned it since we started this. Shechem. Even when they were moving, I remember I've mentioned Shechem too. Anything about Shechem any of you remembers? Okay, so it was the same place that they went to cast the lot to determine who leads them when Saul was supposed to be their leader, the king. So the nation assembly called for an assembly at Shechem. Jeroboam, yesterday we got to know that he was a chief officer, one of the officers who were employed by Solomon. And because of the prophecy that came from the prophet Ahijah, that he was going to rule over the 10 kingdoms when the his clothes were torn into 12. Because of that, he ran away. And then he came back. So he was an administrator under Solomon, supervising the construction of the wall of Jerusalem. So he came back, and this time he championed the cause of the people when he was invited to lead them into negotiation on the reduction of taxes. So he went to plead with Jeroboam being their spokesman that Rehoboam will reduce the taxes, the burden. You recall that there was a time that because of the father's policy, he brought in taxes and they mobilized enough resources to build the temple. So when Rehoboam came, the people felt that the temple has been built. We are done with all those things, so why don't you relieve us from the taxes? Sometimes I tell people in the churches, especially at the Presby Church, that you have to be careful. This is a church where we do harvest to build a temple. After building the chapel, what happened next? We want to buy instruments. After we thought of it, we want to build the manse. After what, we want to buy a car. After we even want to build a church hall. Then, like it looked like every year, every time the church, there's something for the harvest. I'm yet to see one of the churches that will say that we have finished building our chapel. We have our manse. We have everything set. Now this harvest, whatever we are raising, we are sending it to the villages where the churches are struggling, and we want to give it to them to go and reap more souls for Christ. I pray one day we'll have something like that in the church. Because we seem always to be having something to do with the harvest. And I've been asking myself, so we never finish our project. And this is a statement of my grandma when she was alive. She made that statement. The prayer we did, even when we have finished everything, because you see in school, they said we have something, but we pray that one day we'll have someone at the church saying that we have everything in all. We have it now. So now the money we are raising, we are sending it to the internet, we are sending it to Pasa, we are sending it to Karachi, we are sending it to Dambai, we are sending it to some of the areas, Papasi, we are sending it to those BA, the Ko hinterlands, Sheshe, Damano, those villages, Afran Plains. We want to go and establish the church. We must also, everything, the 100,000, the 200,000 we are targeting, we are sending it there. We pray we get there one day. And then we know God will help us. So these people came to tell Solomon, Rehoboam. So they told Rehoboam, we are tired, we have been paid. Now we have built a temple. We have a lot of goodies. We are okay. We are enjoying life. Because your father made things come in. And you can reduce the taxes so that we'll be okay. Excuse me. And you know what Rehoboam did? He ignored their request. If he did not even ignore it first offer, he went to say counsel with the council of elders of his fathers when his father was alive. And they advised him, yes, what the people are saying is true. I think we are done. Let them have some peace. And then he went to see his peers, boys, girls. And then he said, hey, don't agree. Tell them this. Your little finger is bigger than that of, and it's like, what? So I'm now going to tighten things up. So because of that, the people rebelled, decided not to stay with him. Because one, they felt that David's family is being selfish. Not that we have had a situation where Saul's family has been fighting David's family. Ishbosheth, who ruled for 2 years, they wanted to continue the lineage of Saul, and David had come in. So there was that kind of, you just came in to take over what belongs to our father. Number two, aside it to David, as I said, couldn't train his children well, and therefore created a whole lot of problems for the king, where there was this disunity among his own children, and because of that, none of them would take over from him as the king. At a point in time, they were fighting over it. And when they were even ready to protect David, fight for him, David was crying over the death of his children, Absalom. And so because of that, the people felt that this tribe is being selfish. Number two, when Solomon also became king and was sharing the taxes, he didn't add the tribe of Judah to the taxes. They were free. They were having tax holiday, tax free. So they weren't paying anything. So they both felt like this is a cheat. You guys are not, you're not taking our own interest. So if that is the case, then we will split and go our way and get a new leader to lead us. So this together, the remote causes of David and that of the Solomon and the immediate causes of Rehoboam caused the kingdom to be split. So we now have the southern kingdom and then the northern kingdom. As I said earlier, these people were captured and they gained independence and left the Damascus people, the Syrians. So the main tribe of Israel, 10 went to one side, one full tribe and part of Simeon and Benjamin came together to form the southern kingdom. Let's take the southern kingdom first. So the remaining two tribes, as I said, Judah, part of Benjamin and Simeon, came together to form the southern kingdom, which we call Judah, and they had Jerusalem as its capital. In all, there were 19 kings and a queen. A queen came to take over. And when we get to the various kingship, we'll get to know who ruled in this southern kingdom. And these kings were all from the dynasty of David. They were from the line of David. 8 of them were good in the sight of God. Later, 2 of them, Uzziah and Joash or Joash, did what was evil in the sight of God, and that led them into what we call slavery under the Babylonians. Its territory covered the land of Judah, part of Benjamin, and that of Simeon. Judah experienced period of greatness, especially during the revival range or the reform range of Asa, Joash, Hezekiah, and Josiah. These kings really brought great things to them, reviving their hope of Christ, their hope of God, and letting them get back to the what we call religious life, getting back into the religious life. Judah was occasionally threatened by Egypt, Syria, and Israel. Israel here means the northern kingdom. So now we have a split. So Israel here means the northern kingdom. It later became a vast state under Assyria, but was subdued by the Babylonians when they defeated the Assyrians. So the Assyrians took over, captured them, but the Babylonians came with a greater force and took over them. So that is where we hear people like Daniel and the rest going to Babylonia, and they were captured into Babylon. Judah therefore became a slave to the Babylon. Now, and we read all those things that until the time when we had Jeremiah and the rest trying to get back, we get to know that they were in slavery. The temple and the walls of Jerusalem with some buildings were destroyed, and Jerusalem became a desolate city, according to Lamentations chapter 1, verse 11. So let's look at the summary of kingship in the southern kingdom. King Rehoboam erected altars. So after all this that happened, Jeroboam was doing his evil things. So Rehoboam also erected altars and shrines to idols in Judah that even authorized male and female prostitution in these shrines. So there was homosexuality, and there was the normal prostitution ongoing in these shrines, all in attempt to make sure that the people will feel comfortable and work with him shamefully. But a handful of Judah's kings made attempt to get them back from that situation. 2 kings embarked on repairing the decaying temple in Jerusalem. When Hezekiah assumed the throne, he destroyed all of the altars and idols in Judah. So that's how far, generation upon generation, they were trying to get back to God. The first such policy since Rehoboam. So they introduced back to back the worshiping of Yahweh into the system, but they need to get rid of it. But with the help of with the help of the prophet Isaiah, there was that kind of cohesion, togetherness, threat to even Assyria. He helped the king, Hezekiah, for them to work so well and bringing back the practice, the worship of Yahweh. We must note that as we go on, some of the prophets' name will be coming in because some of them played a role in the rule of some of the kings. So their names will be coming out. Finally, Judah's king, Josiah, direct a national program of spiritual renewal. So he came with a new system. This system now allowed them to read the law of Moses in front of all the people. And I have to tell you that it is one of the things that the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, and maybe I will even say most of the churches, the Christian community does. We look at centrality of the gospel, and therefore in our liturgy, we have a time that we are all supposed to sit down, listen to the word being read to our ears, or we reading and listening at the same time. because it is a practice that came in. And listen to the word. Sometimes people seem to be reading, but they don't understand. That is why we even say the readers in most places, they will even have to read the catechism on Saturday before the Sunday, read to the hearing of the catechism, trying to make meaning to whatever they are reading. There are some people, they read the Bible and you don't even understand what they have read. But the system we have adopted is that we have to read it aloud that everyone should hear. That is why wherever you go in the Presby Church, I don't know whether it has been stopped, but for all the Presby churches I know, when we are reading the Bible, the ushers are supposed to close the door so that there will not be movement in the chapel. They will all listen to the word of God. So it was during Josiah's time that the people now read the whole law of Moses in front of the people. The people reaffirmed their commitment to God's covenant. And then for so many centuries, so many years, they celebrated the Passover for the first time. You remember we have done this Passover when we were in the Deuteronomy and the Exodus era. Numbers, Exodus, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, we did the Passover. So for the first time, for so many centuries, it was under the leadership of Josiah, the king, that they celebrated it. Despite this attempt to turn the religious tide in Judah, however, evil rulers regained power after Josiah's death. So the king of Babylon invades the southern kingdom of Israel, burning Jerusalem. As I said, Jerusalem was totally destroyed, destroying the temple that has been built. Like the northern brothers, the northern kingdom brothers, the people of Judah are exiled, settling in Babylon, far away from their homeland. So that is where Daniel and Co were taken into exile. Okay. So let's look at some of the people who ruled. I was trying to put it together, but I'm sure we can see. Please, can we see? It's quite not too big, but we can see there were about 21 rulers in all. Out of the 21 rulers, yes, 21 rulers. Actually, we talk about 19 because after Jeroboam, so 19, but there is a lady, so the lady ended up making the 29. So King Rehoboam was the first king of the Judah or the southern kingdom. And then he was bad. So most of the times the Bible continued to tell us whether they were good or bad. So to put it in a summary, because we can't read everything about each of them, we will never finish. So in a summary, he was bad. And he ruled for 17 years. He was the son of Solomon. The mother's name is called Naamah, and the mother was an Amorite. So you see, one of Solomon's children, the wife is not an Israeli, but an Amorite, a foreign wife who gave birth to Rehoboam. No wonder Rehoboam took them back into worshiping idols. So the whole account of Rehoboam can be found in 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 42 to chapter 14, verse 31. And then you can continue from 2 Chronicles chapter 9, verse 31 to chapter 12, verse 16. So please, Rehoboam, you get all the story here. Some of the things you have to read, not all that we can talk about them here. King Abijah followed him, and he was also bad. Now, he ruled for 3 years. He was the son of Rehoboam, so his own son took over for him. The mother's name is Maacah, and some also say Micaiah. And he was a descendant, the mother was a descendant of Absalom, the son of David. And account can also be found in 1 Kings chapter 14, verse 31 to chapter 15, verse 8, and 2 Chronicles chapter 12, chapter 13, verse 1 to 23. The next king that followed Abijah is King Asa. He was termed to be a good king, and he ruled for 41 years. He was the son of Abijah. His mother wasn't so much known, but we know the grandmother is Micaiah. So if the grandmother is Micaiah, then there was one lady of Micaiah's children who was called Gebera. So we assume it will be the mother. But the account of Asa can be seen in First Kings. I've given you a summary of all that they have done here as to what the role they played. So this is to summarize it. It's First Kings chapter 15, verse 8 to 25, and then to Second Chronicles chapter 13, verse 23 to chapter 16, verse 14. So you can even take some of these quotations one after the other and be reading and get the full story about them. King Jehoshaphat followed, and he was also termed to be a good king. He ruled for 25 years. He was the son of Asa, and the mother's name was called Azubah. Azubah. It nearly turned to be Azuma, but this is Azubah. And the account can be seen in 1 Kings chapter 15, verse 24. Continue from chapter 22 to chapter 22, verse 41 to verse 51. Second Chronicles 17, verse 1 to chapter 21, verse 1. So that is the story of Jehoshaphat. King Jehoram was termed to be a bad king. He ruled for 8 years. He was the son of King Jehoshaphat. The mother is unknown. An account of his reign can be seen in 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 16 to 24, and 2 Chronicles chapter 21, verse 1 to 20. King Ahaziah took over, and he was also termed to be bad. In fact, he ruled for only 1 year, and he was the son of Jehoram. The mother was Athaliah, the daughter of Jezebel and Ahab, king of the northern kingdom. So that's why I said that we will be talking about it. At a point in time, Jehoshaphat gave his son, Jehoram, made alliance with Ahab and Jezebel in the northern kingdom. And their daughter, Athaliah, was given in marriage to this man, Jehoram. And they gave birth to Ahaziah. So Athaliah was still there. And then the son ruled for 1 year after the death of her husband. The account can be found in 2 Kings chapter 2, 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 24 to 29. And it continues in the Chronicles as well. Now, after the death of the son, Athaliah, descending the throne, decided to take over the throne. So she ruled for 6 years. Just as the mother Jezebel, she was a hardcore lady. Maybe nowadays we could have said a slave queen. I think they are the hardcore ladies now. She was a hardcore, and she took over the kingdom to rule, because if the son has been killed, then she will be the next to rule. For 6 years she ruled, and then later, after her came Joash, who was turned to be a good king and ruled for 40 years, and was the grandson of Athaliah. So that means that, and the son of Ahaziah, that means this is his son, came to rule. And the mother is called Ziba of Beersheba. The account can be found in 2 Kings chapter 11, verse 1 to chapter 12, verse 21. Amaziah took over, and he was also turned to be a good king. And he ruled also for 29 years. He was the son of Joash. The mother was Jehoadan of Jerusalem. And then we have Uzziah, started good and later bad. And I'm going to ask you why do we say he started good and later bad? He ruled for 52 years. If you look at it, he seems to be the one who had ruled for long. And he was the son of Amaziah, the king, and the mother's name is called Jecoliah, and the mother was from Jerusalem. Why do we say Uzziah's reign was good in the beginning, but later bad? Who can tell us? Hey, hello.
Papa, we are here.
Okay. Responsible for me. So why do we say that he started good and later bad? Should I give it to you as homework?
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes, Papa.
when we meet, you tell me. I want to. You don't even have to wait for us to meet. You can even just type it and put it on the page. Do you get it? So that everyone will read. Those who get time to do the
Okay, Papa.
research. Because the point is that not all of us will be having time to do the research because of the works, the various work schedule that you guys are doing. So if any of you go to do that, you can just come and put it there. I will even be happy to see someone trying to read all of the things about them and trying to get a summary on each of them. I hope you get, because that is why I said I've not done. I want to even go further to be working on that one later. So that when someone pick it, just that to make the presentation too long, but we are learning. So when someone pick Jeroboam, he can get a small story. Just I did a summary of everything that they are gone on. At least some detailed one or two be. It's good. It's all for our own good. Put it there. Everyone will benefit. Okay. Please, when it goes off, wait, let's reconnect and continue. So the 11th king that ascended the throne is called Jotham. Now, Jotham served for how many years? 16 years. And he was also termed to be a good king. Okay. He was the son of Uzziah, and the mother's name was what? Jerusha, daughter of Zadok. So get all the information.